purpose of this video is to tell you a little bit about the Arduino and how you connect it to your computer and just some things that you should know. And we're also going to work on loading our first program into the Arduino. All right, so this is the Arduino board itself. All right, there's some other parts of that we'll talk about as we go through the course. I have this connected with a USB cable back to my Mac. All right, so follow the line around. My Mac only has the USB 3 connectors going into it, so I had to have an adapter. So some of you may have to do that as well. So this is a regular USB cable, and I had this adapter to make this work. Okay, so the thing about USB is that it can offer power to various devices. All right, and so notice I don't have anything connected to the power strip here, or I'm sorry, to the power connector here. This is the power connector. We can run the Arduino by itself, but without the USB cable, you can unplug that and this would still run if I have a power source. Okay, so one of the things that comes in the kit that you can use for a power source is just a 9-volt battery, all right, with a little connector that lets you plug this in to the Arduino. All right. The battery that comes with the kit, in general, those are really pretty bad. I recommend that you buy another 9-volt battery, either as a backup or maybe just start off with a fresh 9-volt battery. Another thing you can do is, I have lots of these laying around the house, these little power bricks. Okay, so this is from some other device that I had in the past, and I can zoom in here and I can see this can provide 12 volts. Let's see if I can balance this and point to it. So 12 volts can be read right off this data plate here on the power brick. And anything that's 12 volts or less, you can plug into this Arduino, and chances are, there's a pretty good chance, sorry for the shaky video here, but there's a pretty good chance that the connector will fit into the Arduino. So I'm thinking there's only two things you need to check. Will your connector fit, and is this 12 volts or less? All right, so a 9-volt would work. If you read the specs on the board, it can handle up to 20, but it says it's only recommended to go up to 12. So I would stick with that. All right, so you see this Arduino has a light that's blinking, okay? That was actually some code that I just got through running. All right, and so I'm gonna walk you through that at this point. What we are wanting to do is to run the Arduino, they call it the IDE, Integrated Development Environment. Okay, so when I clicked on the icon that brought up the program, it brought up some code that I just got through working on. But in general, on a Mac, you can find the main menu by mousing up to the upper corner. On a PC, there's a similar step where you just find the main menu for the Arduino. Okay, and so what we're going to want to do is click on File, and then Examples, and then Basics, and then Blink. All right, so I'll give you a second to look at that. File, Examples, Basic, Blink, in case you want to follow along. All right, so I click on Blink, and it brings up this little window that has code in it that's going to run on the Arduino. Okay, so it's pretty simple because all that we're trying to do in this case is blink an LED. All right, so you see there's a command that tells us to loop, so we're just doing this loop over and over. We're running these 4 commands over and over. The first one is digital write, LED built in. We're going to turn that high, turn that on. Then we're going to wait some time. It says here, wait for a second. So there's a 1000 argument here, so you can infer that that's whatever you plug in here is in milliseconds. So we're waiting a full second, or a full 1000 milliseconds with it on. And then we're waiting again with it off. All right, so it's going to look like it's blinking. All right, and so if we hit this button, this will upload it. Okay, and that code will run and you'll see the LED blink about once every second. Okay, and so I'd already shown you that at the beginning when I showed you the Arduino board. If you go back in the video, you'll see that LED blinking about once every second. Okay, so one experiment that we could do, and this is how I want you to think of things. You see this and you say, how would I know if I can make a change and implement that change? All right, so one thing that might be interesting is to make this blink faster. All right, so if we change this to 100, it's going to blink every 1/10 of a second. So turn it on, turn it off every 1/10 of a second, every 100 milliseconds. All right, so I changed the code. This comment is no longer true, so now this would be 100 milliseconds. So everything after the slashes are just comments that let us know what we're doing. It doesn't affect the code. All right, so sometimes people will make changes and they don't update the comments, and so things can get a little off on the documentation. So here, if we wanted to fix the comments, we'd wait for 100 milliseconds. All right, so we've modified the code and now we want to rerun it. All right, so there's this check mark that just verifies it whether you're writing valid code, and you'll show that it's compiling down here, and it will, unless it throws some errors, it will compile. All right, so that looks good. It says done compiling, so we're fine. And then you can upload that to your board. All right, so think of this as moving the code through the USB on your computer to the board. All right, so I hit this button and things get uploaded and you see a change on the Arduino. All right, so here I'm showing the Arduino. You can see it's blinking much faster at this point. So you should try that because that's the easiest code that you can do. Make sure your Arduino is working and you can communicate with it through the IDE. All right, so that's as far as I wanted to go with this video.